Welcome to the Strength for the Day podcast, which is a daily Bible study with Dennis Fountain. We hope this time together will be challenging, sharpening, uplifting, encouraging, and strengthening to your Christian walk. Thank you for joining us, and we pray you are helped through today's study.
Welcome to Strength for the Day. We're excited that you joined us today.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're very excited.
I'm excited.
You know, that anybody would tune in to us too would just, they could be doing anything else, and they chose to listen to us.
Or they are doing something else and just press play and don't listen.
Yeah. These two guys are just mambling over here. But
All right.
Here we are. We're gonna try to hopefully be a blessing today. We're
Ramble
going
away.
we're working through here the book of Hebrews, and here on Strength for the Day, and we're going through this series, Jesus is Better, and just diving into this amazing book. And so much here, and we're struggling a little bit just as we're going through it, because there is a lot of, in a sense, repetition.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of saying the same thing, but slightly different.
Yeah,
you know?
and saying it a few different ways.
Yeah.
And the reason, I don't want to, am I cutting you
no,
off?
you're good.
The reason for it is because the readers were really wrestling, right? Wrestling with, is Jesus enough? Did Jesus' death truly pay what was needed for our sin before God? Is Jesus really better?
Yeah.
And the author just keeps coming back at like, yes, yes. No, and let me show you this way. Yes. And let me show you this angle. Yes.
Yeah. I was literally just thinking about it when you were just asking that. I can imagine, well, I really can't imagine, but you can try to put yourself into the feet of these Hebrews who grew up, in the Jewish culture and the sacrificial system, and then here comes Jesus, who was prophesied in the Old Testament, so it wasn't out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But still, it was new, and
Well,
he had all this stuff.
And let me say this real
Yeah.
quick. And the prophecies and
They're great in the review mirror, is all I gotta say.
they were obscure,
Yeah.
right? The prophecies to the Jewish reader was obscure.
It
I mean,
was.
that's why I have friends who are Jewish why is Jesus not the Messiah? They say, well, because he didn't usher in the Messianic kingdom. Well, don't you see him in the Old Testament? Well, no.
Yeah.
No, and it's all of this. Well, what about the Son? Well, that's Israel. Well, what about this verse? Well, that's referring to this prophet. Well, what about?
Yeah.
And so those prophecies are obscure in the Old Testament. And I don't mean to hijack that, but I think sometimes I don't know. I know for years before I really had Jewish friends.
You're like, how could you not?
How do you not see this?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's not just stand out. So go back to what you're saying.
No, it's all true for sure. So just with the perspective of looking at it through their eyes, trying to maybe empathize with them a little bit, like what are they actually struggling with?
Right.
And I think the thought is, imagine being in a culture and a covenant, like the Old Covenant, where you were in a system where you constantly had to worry about your sin. You always had to think of the next sacrifice. You had to constantly be there. It was just part of life.
Yeah.
There's sin. There, if you do this, there's this sacrifice. If you do this, there's this sacrifice. You do all these different things. You have to make sure you bring the spotless lamb. You have the high priest going in for you once a year. There's just this again and again and again and again. And that's the Old Covenant. And then Jesus comes and dies once for all.
Yeah.
I think for us, we're just so used to, oh yeah, Jesus died and there we go, that's great.
Right.
But to them, I think it would take a lot to get used to just like how you even think with you, even as a new believer in Jesus, but used to be Jewish.
Right.
They say Jesus died once for all, but there's going to be a part of you that you're just like, yeah, but just I mean, you sure he doesn't need to like?
Yeah, you sure that mattered?
Are you sure?
that was
Are you
enough?
sure it's for like all time?
Yeah.
I mean, like, but what if I really mess up again?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm
What
just
if it
trying
wears
to,
off?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I was just trying to think, as you mentioned this morning. It's like that's probably something we don't think about.
Right.
That it was really a real thing to get used to, in a sense.
That you just made
was
my
once for all.
mind go down this road of that message I preached a week and a half ago in Galatians 5. This is where my brain went, of Galatians 5:1. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us free, and do not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage.
Yeah.
Like being, I love that thought, like constantly under the bondage of my sin. And I know that's not necessarily the thought there,
Yeah.
but I think looking at the law, it was all bondage. And then you're presented Jesus, right? That is the one who died once for all to make you free. And so anyway, jump back into this, that we recognize that this passage, it can be a little repetitive, but it all has purpose. And so let's do this. Let's dive into Hebrews chapter 9. And now that we're already halfway done, and let's see if we can get
Verse
somewhere
16. There we
today.
go.
Verse 16. Now, where there is a testament, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. For a testament is in force after men are dead, since it has no power at all while the testator lives. So, testament or covenant, we've talked about this. The old covenant was sealed by sacrifice. Same thing with the new covenant, sealed by sacrifice. So I don't want to get off on a bunch of things right here. There's a lot that could be said for 16 and 17, but just know that it's talking about the sacrifice. Therefore, not even the first covenant was dedicated without blood. For when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and goats with water, scarlet wool, and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book itself and all the people, saying, "This is the blood of the covenant which God has commanded you." Then likewise he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry, and according to the law almost all things are purified with blood. Catch this last phrase. And without shedding of blood there is no remission, or there is no cleansing, there is no forgiveness. Remember that, because we'll come back to it. So these first few verses, understanding that the covenant was made and sealed by sacrifice, by blood. Verse 23, therefore, all right, so since covenant is sealed by blood, it was necessary that the copies of the things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. So if a new covenant is going to be made, new blood has to be shed, but not earthly blood. For Christ has not entered the holy places made with hands, which are copies of the true, or pictures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us. Not that he should offer himself often, as the high priest enters the most holy place every year with blood of another. He then would have had to suffer often since the foundation of the world, but now, once at the end of the ages, he has appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And as it is appointed for men once to die, but after this the judgment, so Christ was offered once to bear the sins of many. To those who eagerly wait for him, he will appear a second time apart from sin for salvation. So really just the author highlighting the excellence or the greatness of the sacrifice of Jesus. And there's a lot here, but what stands out to you?
I was just actually, as we were reading through this, thinking of an old song that my family and I sang growing up. It was just called "The Last Blood," and the chorus kind of goes something like this: "And here he comes, and he's got the blood." Talking about Jesus, kind of from heaven's perspective. Here he comes, and he's got the blood that was shed on Calvary. And the Father says, "Well done, my son. This is the last blood I'll ever need." And it just totally goes along with what was going on here. There was this necessity for blood. Blood needed to be shed, and blood. Sometimes people get kind of hung up on the bloodiness of it. It's like, what's with God and blood and different things. And I think in simple terms, blood symbolizes life.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when life is taken, well, then life is required. That's just the way sin works. That's the way life works. And so blood represents, life in the sense. And so, so this blood was shed, and everything needed blood. Sacrifices in the Old Testament had all this shedding of blood to cover sin. And we kind of talked about it before, but when Jesus came, it was the last blood.
Yeah.
I think he said it here, verse 26, after he'd entered, not that he should offer himself often as the high priest enters the most holy place with the blood of another, he then would have had to suffer often. Since the foundation, I think is an interesting phrase. Like he would have to die over and over again if he was if he was doing it like the old covenant. But now, once at the end of the ages, he has appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. Again, going with what we mentioned last episode, him taking away the sin of the world. And he put it away by the sacrifice of himself. And I think just that, again, goes back to something that we just probably just take for granted and maybe just get a little cold or apathetic to, that our God, our high priest, sacrificed himself. Because what was the Old Testament? It was high priests that would enter once a year with the sacrifice for the people,
and it was the blood of another.
That's what I was pointing. Yeah, so it's like they would enter in, but what were they entering in? They were entering in with a sacrifice. It wasn't them. They weren't dying for the sins of the people, but Jesus, as our ultimate high priest, God in the flesh, he doesn't just come and bring a sacrifice. Jesus comes, and not only is he our priest, but he also then becomes our sacrifice, giving himself and putting away sin at the end of the ages here. They're talking, and what a thought.
I think honestly, that's a great thought. Just the fact that he became the sacrifice. It reminds me of the author, Paul, that wrote, "He became sin who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him." And I love that, because the high priest entered in with the blood of another. Jesus enters in with the blood of himself. And it just goes to show a number of things come to my mind. First, it goes to show his love. Willing to die so that we might live. And it goes to show his grace and the fact that because of his grace, we can be forgiven, his mercy that is given. But then I also love, and I think we spoke about this in our last couple of episodes, but I love how the repetition keeps coming once for all. Once. You see, he
put away sin
once, but now once in the end of the ages. So Christ was offered once to bear the sins. Like, it's just this once, time and time and time again. And honestly, all of it to point to the title of our entire series, that Jesus is better. He is sufficient to cover, and his blood is sufficient to forgive. But I want to go back to verse number 22, where it says, without the shedding of blood, there is no remission, or there is no forgiveness. That really is a connection statement to help us understand the Old Testament sacrifices were required because of the sins of the people, and Jesus' sacrifice was required to wash away all sin. My dad helped me with this a long time ago, but when you think about the death of Jesus on the cross and him dying for our sin, we think, well, he just, we personalize it, which we should, right? Jesus died for all of my sin. But why did Jesus pray in the garden, Lord, if it be your will, let this cup pass from me? Why did he pray that?
Well, because he was about to endure the wrath of
God. The wrath for what? For the sins of humanity.
Right. Yeah. No, true.
Not just the sins of Dennis, the sins of all of humanity.
Yeah.
You think about the worst criminals. My dad would say, think about Hitler.
Yeah.
Think about some of these. Think about these predators and some of these mass murderers and all of that. Jesus, that's crazy. He died for their sin, just like he died for Dennis Fountain, just like he died for Michael Petrick.
Yeah.
And his death and his blood was sufficient enough for everyone. Just goes to remind us of the perfection and the holiness of our God. And again, reminding us, why did he do all of that? Well, but God commended his love toward us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us.
Yeah.
It was all based on love. Not just love for me, but love for humanity.
Yeah.
And so with that, I think, again, we could go a few different ways, but here's a challenge that I was just kind of thinking of as we wrap up. If Jesus loved humanity enough to die for it, would I love humanity enough to tell them? I wonder who in your life needs you to tell them, like, hey, Jesus loves you and he died for you, right? We want to apply this to us, but he died for the sins of the world. And so the challenge I want to give to everyone today is thinking about the sacrifice, the death that Jesus made for the sins of the world. Personalize it, yes, he died for you, but also allow it to be a mission. Who else did he die for? Well, he died for everyone that I'll meet today. Yeah. So what should I do? Man, I want to tell people about him. When's the last time you told someone, hey, Jesus loves you and he died and offers you forgiveness? Yeah. Maybe today, God might bring someone across your path that you could tell that to. I hope this will be a help to you, and I hope that you'd make that decision. Yeah. So have a great day. Anything to add?
Yeah, no, God's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, have a wonderful day, and we will see you on our next episode of Strength of the Day. See you then.